In the previous video, we have seen arithmetic operations and how you can print the outputs to console using console.log. So in this video, we are going to learn about the boolean expressions and the conditional operators and how you can use them in JS. So let's get started. So first things first, what is a boolean? Boolean is basically a data type which is either true or false. So there are only two states, which is a true or a false. And Booleans are used mostly in conditional operators, like in operations like in if-else statements. So first, let's see what an if-else statement is. So if-else statement is a block of code which executes based on the condition. So if the condition is true, the code in the if block will be executed. And if the condition is false, the else block will be executed. So let's say we want to check in this example here. But first, let me just maximize this console. So you can go into the Chrome DevTools and go to the console here and click on these three dots. And if you click on this one, it will give up the maximus, and I will just put it here. So in this case, let's say we want to check if the A is equals to B. So if I do, yes. So this is the syntax of the if-else statement. So if, and here inside these parentheses, we write the condition. So let's say we are checking A is equals to B. So if we do A equal to B, then console.log A greater than B. So for checking the equality, we use double equals to. Let me change the font real quick so we can actually see the difference. Because the font I'm using is Retina font. So, okay. So now you can see that the now you can see that there are two equal to, right? So to check the equality, we use double is equals to. So equals to and equals to is nothing but it checks if A is equals to B and returns true if A is equals to B and returns false if A equal to A is not equals to B. If we do something like console.log A is equals to B, you can see that the output is actually false because 10 is not equals to 5. If I change this 5 to 10, it will return a true. And we also got the console.log output in the if block. So what basically happens is this A is equals to B. If A is equal to B, then this whole thing will return into a true. You can also say true as 1 in binary and false is 0 in binary. So now coming back to the if-else statement, let me remove this console.log here. And if you see the if-else statement here, we have if followed by parenthesis, and inside the parenthesis, we will write a condition, which can be any condition. There are also Boolean functions we will use in the video later. So for now, let's see about the equality operator. I will explain about the other operators as well. So watch this video until the end. If A is equal to B, then we will get the console.log as output. And if A is not is equals to B, it is simply console.log B is greater than A. So let's give 5 for this. And you can see that the output was changed. So when you give if and condition, if the condition is satisfied, whatever code inside the if statement will be executed. If not, if the condition is not met or not satisfied, then the code inside the else block will be executed. So there is also a shorthand notation, like let's say you're only using one line inside the if and else. So you can remove these curly braces here and here too, and it still works. So if your If else block is a single line, you can simply use directly without using curly braces. And if you have multiple lines, so for example, let's say I want to print two things, like console.log and console.log, just something, I will get an error because if else. Then if I remove this, and you can say that this executes and this also executes. But if you want to print this only when a is equals to b, then you have to use the curly braces again. So if I put this inside this, you don't see any output. So if I remove the curly braces, only the first line will be executed, but not the second line. So if you have a single line, then you can just remove the curly braces, and if you have multiple lines inside your if block or else block, you have to open the curly braces, and inside the curly braces, you have to write the code. So there are a lot of operators. Basically, I'm only checking for the equality operator, but there are also less than operator, and of course, a is not less than b. So and we have a greater than b, and a greater than is equals to b, and a less than or is equals to b. And there is another one which is triple equal to. So triple equal to basically um, exists only in JavaScript. It actually checks the null content as well. So we don't mostly use this. So I'm just going to go with the basic operators. So, when the condition is met, this block will be executed. And if the condition is doesn't met, else block will be executed. So let's say we will have three conditions when we are comparing the two variables or anything. First one is less than, greater than, and is equals to. So we are only checking the equality operator, right? So let's do less than. So let's do greater than first. And then if you want to check if both of them are equal, so we have three conditions. So first one will be if a greater than b, and the second one should be a less than b, and a is equals to b. So you can simply write else if a is equals to b, a equals to b, and else. So now we have embedded another if inside our else statement. So it will check for this condition. If a is not greater than b, it will come to this next else block in which we have another condition of if, and inside that we have a equal to 0. And if this doesn't work, and if this condition is not satisfied, then it will go for the next else. So this if block, we call this as the if else ladder, basically because we have if, and if there is else, and inside the else there is another else. So we simply call it as if else ladder, where we have multiple if else blocks and we just write a lot of them. So coming back to the operators, conditional operators. These are the conditional operators we have seen: is equals to, and less than or is equals to, greater than or is equals to, less than, greater than, and there is another thing which is not is equals to. So let's say we want to print a message when a is not equals to b. So we simply use exclamation mark as not and is equals to. So not is equals to b. So if a is not equals to b, then we can simply printing the output. So exclamation mark represents the not operation. So these are the conditional operators, and now there are boolean operators. So let's just say that this thing, what a is not equal to b, this will return a false or true. So let's say we have another condition, a is equals to b. So I will write a simple console.log here, console.log a not equals to b, and let's say a greater than b. So now you can see that the first condition will be true and the second condition is also true. So if you want to check if both of them are true, we use the boolean operations. So boolean operations are basically AND operation, OR operation, and NOT operation. There are other operations too, like XOR and stuff, but we mostly use AND, OR, and NOT. We have already seen the NOT, so let's see about AND or OR operations. So if you know a little bit about the logic gates, you might already know about the AND operations and other operations like AND, OR, NOT, XOR, XNOR, and stuff. So let's say we want to check if this condition and this condition both are met. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a ampersand sign two times. So what basically happens is this is true and this is also true. I've already told that true is nothing but one in binary and false is zero in binary. So if you do one and one, the output will be one. So if you use ampersand symbol two times, it will do the AND operation for this one and this one. So this returns the true and this returns the true. So if you check it, if you will get one and one. And if you perform one and one, the output will be one, which is true in Boolean. So that is why we get true in the as the output. So now if I do something like, let's say I will change this to less than, and you can see that the output is false. That means this will be false and this will be true. And if you perform an AND operation for 1 and 0, the output will be 0. Because if you take the truth table of AND gate, you will know that if there is a single 0 in the either of the inputs, the output will be automatically 0. So, this is the way you can check if both the conditions are true or not. And if you want to check either one condition is true or not, we use two bars. These straight vertical lines, we call them as bars. So you use the bar symbol two times, it will check if either condition is true, it will return the whole thing as a true. So the first condition, a not is equals to b will return true, and this will a less than or is a less than b will return false. So either of them is true, so the output will be true. So for the condition, what I'm going to do is I'm going to print the different console.logs. Just a minute. This is the AND operation, and this is the OR operation. Copilot is actually giving me suggestions automatically. So now you can see that with AND operation, I will also print the A and B as well. A and B. Just for the sake of understanding, I'm just doing something like this. So now you can see that actually. So the condition is A is not equals to B in everything. So in the three conditions, A won't be is equals to B. So this will return true. So first A not equal to B will be the true. But the second one, which is A less than B. So A less than B will return false in these two conditions. So you can see that the first one returned false because of course the first one is AND operation, where if a single case is false, the whole thing will be turned into false. And the second console.log, we are using a OR gate, OR operation. So in this, if either of the two conditions is true, the output will be true. And finally, we have NOT operation, which will be the inverse of the output. So let's say A is not equals to B, which is true, and not true is false. So if I do something like not true, you can see that the output is false. And if I do not false, it will return true. So these are the basic logic operations you can do in JavaScript. And there are also a bitwise operators which we do with simply a um, single symbol. So let's say we want to perform an bitwise AND operation between 4 and 1. We can simply do 4 and 1, which will be 0, because if you see the 4, let me just explain this in the comment. So 4, and the binary equivalent of 4 will be 1 0 0. And let's say we have 1, and if we already give me the, so for 1 we have 0 0 1. So I will write here for better understanding. And now you can see that the left side will be the decimal equivalent, and the right side will be the binary equivalent. So if you perform the AND operation here, what basically happens is it will end the each bit separately. So it will end the leastmost bit, which is 0 and 1. So if you perform an AND operation for these two, you will get a 0, and 0 0 will be 0 as well. And finally 1 0 is 0 as well. So that is exactly why we got the 4 and 1 as 0. So let's say if we want to put the something like this, so this will be 5. So if you perform the AND operation for 4 and 5, we will get the this one as 1. So it should be 5. So if I do 4 and percent 5, yeah, 1 0 0 is 4. So 4, if you perform 4 and 5, you get 5 and 4. So likewise, if you do OR operation, it will return 5. So let's see, let's check it out. Yeah. So for the bitwise operations, it will perform the bitwise logic operations like AND, OR, and as well as NOT as well. But for NOT, there won't be any bitwise or conditions. So NOT simply complements the whatever output you do. So if I put NOT 4 or something, it will simply return false because the value 4 is not 0. So if I do not 0, it will return true, because we know that the 0 mean false is equals to 0 in binary. So basically 0 is nothing but false, and not false is true. That's it. Now these are the basic operations you can uh, perform in this. And if you want to check two conditions, if both of the conditions are true, then you can basically do this. And let's say if we want to check if A is not is equals to B, and A is greater than B. Now this whole thing will become a condition. And this condition will be true because A is not is equals to B and A is greater than B. So you can put as many conditions as you like inside this, and check for the if the condition is satisfied or not. And you can proceed with the code you want to execute when the condition is true or if condition is false. And I don't know how much time it took for the recording, but that's it for this video. And we have already seen the logical operations and if else statement. So in the next video, we are going to see how we can if you can use another block which is called as switch case instead of if else ladder. Because let's say we have a lot of conditions, we cannot write if else, if else, if else, and so on. We only taking comparisons here, but when you're developing web applications or websites, you will get a point where you have to check a lot of conditions. And in that case, you should not use if else every time, because let's say we have to consider 100 cases, I mean 100 conditions. You can't do if condition 1 and else if condition 2 and else if condition 3 and so on 100 times. Because what basically happens is if you use if else block, it will check condition if for every if else block. So if let's say we have these two, so it will check for this condition, it will check this condition as well, and if it doesn't satisfy, then it will go for this condition. So what basically happens is it will the your computer will take time to perform this if else block and this one as well. And if both of these are not true, then it will go for else block. So let's say we have, let's say for example, if your computer takes 1 second to execute this particular instruction, then you already got around 4 seconds of delay. So using if else for when comparing huge data, if else ladder is not uh, preferred or recommended. For those operations, we use switch case statements, uh, which will which will check the switch condition an integer value or value, basically provide a value for switch case statement. We are going to see in the next videos, and it will directly execute the case whichever case is satisfied. We are going to see this in the next video. So thank you very much for watching.